Nice weather again today. Sun and clouds, although there's not much rain and some people are actually asking for it. Why? I guess it's because all these news stories I read. This first one was kind of interesting because it seems like in certain areas there's so much wildfire they're blaming it on the public in general on why they can't, I guess, fight it off at times, which is kind of interesting to think about. This first one here says, drones, ATVs hamper BC's wildfire fighting efforts during record-breaking season. Firefighters battling hundreds of blazes in British Columbia say they've been facing more than the usual obstacles, blaming members of the public for interfering with operations. The BC Wildfire Service says it's had to deal with several people riding all-terrain vehicles around active work sites, and in one case, a drone in the air forced firefighters to halt operations. The service says in a statement there have been several reports of people getting in the way of heavy equipment operators and firefighters fighting multiple fires in the Burns Lake area in northwestern BC. It says public interference has a direct effect on the effectiveness of the fire suppression and poses safety risks to both the public and firefighters. With that, they seem to focus on the drones though. Like this one says here, last weekend aerial firefighting operations in the province's northwest were temporarily suspended due to a drone being flown near a wildfire. The service says anyone caught operating a drone in the vicinity of a wildfire could face fines or jail time. The province's wildfire season has set a new record for the total area burned in a year, with almost 1,400 square kilometers scorched and hundreds of fires burning across the province. This actually makes me think of a lot of the points I often say about things like fear-mongering tech like drones and all that. First, whether or not there was a drone, I don't know, because usually in these cases many times it ends up being nothing. But was there any real danger? Was the drone flying within, let's just say, 10 feet within the helicopter doing circles in that way? Or was it something like it was 4.9 kilometers away and someone on the way to the fire says, oh, I see a quote drone, now I gotta land everything? Who does that? It doesn't matter what it is, for example, in terms of other items, like say a big bird or something like that. You're not gonna say, okay, shut down all operations. Especially with this example too, since they specifically state there were several people getting in the way of heavy equipment and all that. So why don't you have that same type of hysteria? Clear the entire area, everything, because these guys are getting in the way. You dealt with it afterwards, correct? Now the argument could be, well, it's different. The drone is flying in the air. If it crashes into the helicopter all of a sudden, everyone will die and all that. That's why I ask again, was there actually any true danger, or is it just someone claimed, I saw a quote drone, who knows where, now I have to land? Wouldn't that be the same thing as me saying, there were several people here, how do you not know they were armed terrorists? They're out there to kill all these firefighters. You better clear the entire area until you get these guys ID'd and all that. Send in the military against them. You don't do that. That's over the top, correct? But that's exactly how it's like, in my opinion. Like with these drones and stuff like that. Instead of focusing on actually dealing with the situation, it's almost like it's being used as an excuse to say, oh, it's because of them we can't do this and all that. You gotta be consistent. Even when you look at their social media pages, like here, what did they write? Over the weekend, aerial firefighting operations in the Balti fire zone were temporarily suspended due to a drone being operated in the vicinity of a wildfire. And then they go on how it's against the law, you could go to jail, get fines and all that. Where's all the talk about those people in general, riding ATVs and all that? Nothing, right? And read like the comments here. People saying, for example, they should make more rules against, let's just say, a drone operator. People should be able to shoot them down and all that, etc., etc. It makes you think too, in these situations, isn't it better to focus your energy as well more on how are these fires actually starting? Because again, there have been a lot of articles about wildfires here. Like this one says, military begins deployment highway to Bella Coola closed as hundreds of wildfires burn across BC. So for the most part, they don't really seem like they know what's causing it. Is it just the weather, for example? It's pretty common during these times when it's hotter. But then like this was posted recently, not too far from here, just a little north actually. This guy writes here, first on scene to fire in Lynn Canyon. Could smell smoke from my home in Celine around 11 p.m. So apparently this guy says he went on his e-bike to go check it out, and afterwards I suppose he contacted the fire department. He took videos and all that. You can see there was a fire starting midnight or something like that. So I highly doubt this is a natural fire, correct? That late at night when it's cooler and all that, more likely it was set off by a person. So shouldn't you actually be, for example, posting stuff like this in these official social media accounts for you to actually try to catch the culprits? And I thought this was interesting. As you know, here in Canada, because of the Online News Act, platforms such as Facebook are starting to ban Canadian media sources. So would that mean, for example, stuff like this when there's wildfires? It does seem to be the case actually. When you go to the site, you see this here saying, to comply with the Online News Act, we're ending news availability on Facebook and Instagram in Canada. To comply with federal legislations, viewing and posting news content will no longer be possible on Facebook and Instagram in Canada. The Online News Act is based on the incorrect premise that social media companies benefit unfairly from news content shared on our platforms. The reverse is actually true. News outlets voluntarily share content on social media to expand their audiences and help their bottom line. The only way we can reasonably comply with this legislation is to end news availability. Canadians will always be able to connect with friends and family, grow their businesses, and support their local communities. So would you agree with that? That's how it looks like currently here in Canada anyways, with them blocking all the news and media. So that will be for stuff like this too, like for fire announcements and all that in the news, you won't see this. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays out. Alright, see you guys later.